fire department went into the building to get something for our custodian. And came back out and told him that there were some things in there that he was concerned with. Mrs. Chambers took some pictures. We met on Monday and talked a little bit about the pictures. We called the state fire marshal. The state fire marshal came. A couple days later after we talked with him, he went through the building with Mr. Fraser and myself. And when we went through the building and everything else like that, what we saw was paper towels all over the place, and toilet paper and stuff of that nature. When we finished talking to the state fire marshal, we left. When we left, advice of the state fire marshal says call the arson hotline to report it and everything else like that. So we did, and we reported that people from the arson came and checked it out. And the report that they have right now is what they're saying is there's no threat. There's no leads on anybody being in the building or anything of that nature. And this, all this stuff is some time ago. By looking at it, it's been in there for a long period of time. Now we don't know how long because, but the way they looked at it, they saw some things that says that it's been sitting in there for quite a bit of time. It just so happens that we just found it and everything of that nature. There was no acceleration, there was no attempt to light the stuff through down the basement. Nothing like that on there. So right now, they're telling us they'll leave it open as an investigation, and that's just the way it stands right there. But there was no threat or anything that the state fire marshal or the arsons said to our staff or anybody here. To be absurd to say that I did not have the safety of the kids in this county is absurd. If there was a danger, if there was a problem with that, I would have definitely had you out of this building and everything of that nature. But there wasn't, and we followed all the procedures that the state told us to follow, and now it's in their hands to do this. Okay? But they assured us again today on the phone at 4 o'clock when I talked to the gentleman, there is no threat at all. Okay? Now what we need to do is board up the windows around the outside, which Mr. Fraser will get with the maintenance department, get that all boarded up for us, and then we'll secure the doors again to make sure, to make it more secure so nobody else can do it as well. But again, it's been sitting in there for quite a long time. Okay. Any questions from parents?
How often is that building accessed? I mean, do we have any records? I mean, is there routine maintenance, walkthroughs? I mean, that's something that poses a concern just as an old building on a property. Is it maintained? I mean, like I know I got buildings on my property. I try to walk through them every once in a while just to make sure that there's nothing that's going to cause a danger. Is that done?
With the stuff that's in there right now, I would advise nobody to go in there. The fire marshal, the arson department person went in there without a hazmat suit on, and from my understanding, got kind of a little sick when he was in there. No, we don't go in and inspect that building whatsoever because we were told to stay out of it, from my understanding.
It's kind of concerning. Like, what if somebody in the public decides to randomly enter that building and do something potentially? Because then we're not checking it. Nobody's going through and making sure, and there's no real way to find any tampering that's done to it currently because, you know, the windows aren't boarded up. I mean, obviously, if we see a broken window, that's going to be a sign, but...
We're going to get the windows board up starting tomorrow or Monday. Okay, we got one of our maintenance crews that's out. So we'll have two coming in here Monday next week. If he's back tomorrow, we'll have him out here tomorrow. We'll do the meeting. But we wanted to make sure not touch anything until the arsonists finish their investigation and do things of that nature. But that's what we know, and it's in their hands now. And as long as there's no threat, we're okay. Any other parent?
Seems like we've been given two very different accounts. I don't have them in front of me to compare word for word. Can you account for that difference from an elaborate looking system to some paper towels, toilet paper, wadded up on the floor? It seems like there are two very different.
Let me explain to you. I wrote a response to what you're talking about. My response did not get on the web page. Okay, it did in Calhoun County. It got on.
False. Sir, that is false.
What I need to do-
The response
what I need
is
to do right
that.
now is, it's not a elaborate system. It wasn't kept secret. Her staff was told Monday that it was here. My staff was told it was here. The board knew about it on Monday night on the 17th of the board meeting. And when I talked to them, I asked them to keep it confidential because the investigation was going on, knowing that, well, you can figure why I told them to keep it confidential. But it's not an elaborate system. We made it very clear to the fire marshal.
Mr. Daniels.
And the arson people the same way. It's not, okay? So it's not what the elaborate system is. And I was called to ask the questions first, but I wasn't. And that was my concern. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Were there pictures taken of the time?
Yes, ma'am.
And what
Mrs.
did,
Chambers taking the pictures.
what did
The firemen took them.
And the
I
firemen
gave them my
took the
ad-
pictures
iPad.
also.
and you saw the pictures, Mr. Britt?
Yes.
What did you see?
Basically what I saw downstairs on the bottom floor of the building, it is a pile of paper towels, toilet paper, whatever. Up the stairwells would be a single strand broken in several places, not connected. Maybe at some point was, whenever, but would be just a single strand up the stairways and down the hallways of the different floors of the building. But it would be just a single strand of paper towels, toilet paper. They're buried in different parts of the building, in several places, broke into, not connected.
Just all paper towels?
Yes, yes. That's what I saw when I was in the building.
Sir, gentlemen, this gentleman has a question.
Show us the pictures, we could be out here in 15 minutes.
Well, and I'll address that if you allow me. I'm gonna address that in just a minute, because I want to make a couple comments after the questions, and then I'll
Great.
address
That'd be
your
great.
questions, sir. Mr. Ravenline, did you have a question?
Well, I don't have a question. I was just once more accused of something that is not true. Mr. Devano has done that multiple times in his statements. He just said that I did not publish his press release. That is totally false. It is right on the top. All you have to do, know what a hyperlink is, and you click on it, and it shows it to you in PDF. It has always been there. And my complaint is that
We're not here simply for
I am. I want to hear what he has to say.
yeah, because I've been
this.
accused.
Let him talk to you separately.
Yeah.
We're here.
No, no,
Go ahead.
no.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
So my whole point is, we have a story, okay? And I publish the people's concerns,
Right.
okay? It was never an accusation. It was all statements and all of them form of questions that need response. Well, we never got a response. Finally, when we got the press release, the statements in it does not match what was published. Like in the publication, it only talks about somebody said there was a wick. But then we hear that he's saying that there's paper towels, this and that. It was never published that way.
Okay, and that's why I think it's important, and it's good that
So
we're all-
everybody
we're
can
all
know.
here tonight.
Right.
So we're all
And
gonna
then the local newspaper, I was told, they printed and they called it that I'd reported that it was a bomb threat. Where did that come from?
I don't know, sir. I don't know
Sir?
that. But I would like to just make a few comments. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Then I want to make a comment because I can respond to your question.
Okay, I would like to ask, who was the fireman that discovered it? What was the date he discovered it? And what date did you contact the state fire marshal?
August the 13th was the day that I had the fireman go in. He had a hazmat suit on.
And he was
His name is Jason Bailey.
Jason Bailey, and he works
And
for,
he went back in and took pictures. He came out and told me what was in there. I gave him my iPad to go take pictures. And then I met with Mr. Devano the next morning, and he said share the pictures with him.
Mr.
I
who?
emailed Mr. Devano.
Okay, go
So I
ahead.
emailed the pictures to him, and then we met Monday morning before our administrators meeting, he and I. And then he and Joe were over, I forget what day it was, I have to look again and see. And then they contacted the state fire marshal.
On the date, what was the date?
I've got them written down in the
in my office. I didn't bring any of that stuff over with me.
Approximately 1 day, 2 days, 3,
Oh, well,
5?
I showed him the pictures Friday morning.
Okay.
And then we met Monday at our administrators meeting, and I gave him all the pictures, electronically. I gave them to the state fire marshal, so that was on Monday. And then the fire marshal was up, I believe it was Tuesday, the 18th.
Okay.
And then the fire marshal took it from there.
Mm.
If you don't, go ahead.
And wait a minute, I wasn't answered one question. Who was the fireman you said? Jason Bailey?
Jason Bailey.
Okay, thank you.
That's the janitor's stepson, I believe.
I don't,
Did you have a question, ma'am?
Yes. I saw on in the newspaper and also on there to call the people that was there. And the fire department was called. By the way, they were here at 4:30. They didn't know, because we were not told that this was changed, the date was changed. And I asked if the fire department had been told. The fire department here in Gilbert County is excellent. They knew nothing about this. I also called the prosecuting attorney, because this is a crime when somebody enters school property and the police are not called. And he said absolutely not, that he was not called in any way. No one called. If he had, he'd be investigating. Why wasn't the police called? Then the sheriff was called, and the sheriff said the same thing. He wasn't called. So now we have this happening in the building. And by the way, I was in there in 2011, because we always asked that we could walk through the buildings and look at everything as board members. And from that day forward, when the state took over, we have not been allowed to inspect one building, or the board's not been allowed to go in any building and look at anything, in any building. But when I was in that building over there, in 2011, there was none of this in there in 2011. And since that time, they use this excuse, somebody can't go in. But they always go in to get chairs, and it's my understanding, somebody went in there to get a chair that discovered it. Is how it got to be there. But I'm saying to you, this is a crime. The police should have been notified. The fire department wasn't notified, prosecuting attorney wasn't notified, and the sheriff wasn't notified.
And I understand your questions, and I'm gonna be
And
able
the
to
Board of
answer.
Education wasn't notified.
And I'm gonna
State.
be able to answer those. So if I may, let me go ahead and make a few comments, and then if you have other questions.
just one more question.
Okay.
quickly. Mr. Cochran interviewed Mr. Devano for the story in the paper, is that correct?
If you read my remarks on the Free Press, it's the same remarks he has.
I didn't compare them before, but they sound the same.
They're the same.
Okay, here's my question. You say that there was a, noticed rolled up paper towels within the school. How do you take rolled up paper towels and go from floor to floor? Or did it not go from floor to floor? If we just, when we see the pictures,
And
it'll
I
make a
can-
lot more
And I
sense.
can answer that for you, sir.
Okay.
Let me go ahead, because I think that'll answer. Yes, sir.
I'm not here to start an altercation, fight, anything, but I would like to have it cited to me where any place there is in West Virginia open meeting laws or the West Virginia statutes that an elected state elected official is not permitted to ask questions. Can you cite that? Or Mr. Devano, I heard him say 2 or 3 times, this is a meeting for parents. As elected officials in this county.
Never
Well,
advertised
and
that way.
I mean, obviously, the parents in Normatown Elementary, given the fact that this occurred on the school property, obviously, that's our first point, I'm sure, in inviting them to come to this meeting to get information. Obviously, there are people in this room who are not parents, and you're all here, and we're gonna provide every bit of information we can and every answer we can.
Thank you.
But when you say you're gonna provide it, does that mean that are we permitted to ask questions or make
You
comments?
can ask me anything you want, sir. I will do my best to answer. I will do my best to, and well, Mr. Devano, and that's why we're here. We're here to hopefully answer questions. I want to dispel a lot of misinformation that's
Yeah.
out there, and to give you everything I know from the Department of Education standpoint. Mr. Devano is giving you what he knows from Gilbert County.
She hadn't introduced herself, this is Dr. Cindy.
I did. I went around, I think everybody, just
Yeah.
Cindy.
Okay, I have this question, and I'm here because of, I represent the children of the county,
I
and the people who elected me. And I just have this question to ask, and maybe there's a logical answer to it. When we had our last school board meeting, we were walking out, and I made it a point to get out of there quickly. Mr. Devano called us back and said, I have something to share with you. He had on his cell phone pictures, and he used these terms, and so I had to go home and look up what I'd heard. A candle wick. And he described a column, he said it was so big that if he put his arms around, he probably couldn't touch his fingers. And he had on his cell phone pictures of appendages going off of that column to different places in the building. And he also mentioned it was a professionally done job, and it could not have been done instantaneously. It took quite a bit of material. So then we went from that to a few paper downs. We were told not to say anything. Now we hear we weren't given those orders. Now we're back to, well, don't worry about it. Just a few paper towels, and it didn't cause any potential for damage because it was real old. And then we've also heard stories about bat guano being in there,
And I'm gonna,
and
I
okay,
can
let me
respond
go
to
on.
that, okay?
The point of it is it true or not true that if there was a preparation for arson, is it true or not true that a crime was committed?
I'm gonna answer that.
Okay.
Norma,
Yes,
Mrs. Harlan, Clark.
yes, that's fine. Norma Hurley, hi, people, how are you? Now, I did hear Mr. Devano say earlier, I will give everyone their due, that, and he admitted here that he had told the board not to say anything. Mr. Corcoran was not here yet at that time, and that was true, he did. So that should not have been reported because I felt very insulted when it was reported that no one had been told to not say anything, because I would have certainly answered every question any parent in this county asked me, let alone Normatown parents. So we were asked not to do that. The investigation was in progress.
And that's a great lead-in, so if I may just make a couple comments.
Well,
and
may I
again-
finish one more thing?
Sure, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
Not quite. I do agree with Dr. Armour as to the pictures. I do agree as to what was said. I did ask if that was a continuous length or a contiguous length of material that went upstairs and crisscrossed the upper ceiling, suspended down, oh, I don't know, 6 inches or so in an X shape. And I was told yes at that time. Now, I've not seen it. I do believe our children are safe. I do have a question about the bat guano that comes after all of this, because if someone goes in there and gets sick, and if you pursue it, health-wise, bat guano is very unhealthy. There's a lot of bacteria. It can cause a lot of respiratory problems. Even if we close the building, I would suggest the superintendent that he gets an exterminator in there. Bats are no good. We don't need them. And we're certainly still using that building for gym and music class and various community functions. We had our levy meeting in there. And I think it would behoove the Board of Education to have that exterminated and make sure it's sealed up to prevent bats and birds from getting in there, not to mention people. And I do feel that one thing lacking was the fact that when someone had illegally entered our building, regardless of the view you take of the rest of it, which is very serious, don't get me wrong, but I do feel that the first thing that should have been done when it was determined someone had illegally entered our building was to contact our sheriff. That's all I have to say about it.
Okay, so if there aren't any other questions right now, then let me just make a couple comments, and I think it will answer most or all of the questions, and if we don't have the answers from that, we will certainly get them for you. And I think I met each of you, but again, I'm Cindy Daniel. I'm the Deputy State Superintendent of Schools for the West Virginia Department of Education. And I spoke this afternoon to Mr. Jason Boltic. He's the Deputy State Fire Marshal and the Chief Investigator from the West Virginia State Fire Marshal's Office. Obviously wanted to get information because we've heard a lot of information about what happened, what didn't happen, and here's what I can tell you. He gave me some specific information First of all, you do need to understand, and I'm sure you all do know, a fire marshal is law enforcement. So once it's reported to the fire marshal, I know Mrs. Starkey, you were asking about the prosecuting attorney maybe wasn't notified by, I'm assuming like your meeting by Gilmer County Schools or Mr. Devano. You mentioned maybe the fire chief here. They are law enforcement, and he specifically told me it is their responsibility, once they're notified, they then, as they deem appropriate and if necessary, they will contact and involve any and all other law enforcement officials who need to be. I specifically said, whose responsibility is it? And he said, it is their responsibility, and that they will be working with, as I said, any and other law enforcement as needed. It is currently under investigation. And so that goes back to your request for pictures. While that information cannot be released, that has nothing to do with Mr. Devano saying you can't have them. He specifically said to me, this is currently under investigation. This is the deputy fire marshal. Here's what I can tell you that they saw. And this is the information that he gave to me and said, this can be released, but until the investigation is over, this is all we know at this time. Just as Mr. Devano said, I'm pretty much going to repeat probably what he said. They did find paper towels. He said paper products, I think is the term he used. There were piles of paper products throughout the building. I don't know specifically if they crisscrossed or went into separate floors. He said they did find piles of paper towels. He said by the looks and the evidence that they have, it was not anything that had been there recently. He said they can't determine an exact date, but that they know that it has not been something where there's been a recent, someone has recently entered the building. To Mrs. Hurley's comment about and one of the reasons that they did find that they think that they know that it has not been recent was because of, like you said, the feces that were found in and on around the paper products. There were, just as Mr. Devano said, there was no accelerant found. There was no attempt to light a fire, none. So, Mr. Baltic is his name. Mr. Baltic said, right now they are still investigating. They do not have any leads, and he encouraged me to give their 800 number to each of you this evening. He said, if any of you have any leads or have any information. The number is, and this is the arson hotline, it's 1-800-233-3473.
1-800-233.
Yes, 1-800-233-3473.
How do you spell his name?
His name is Jason Baltic, B-A-L-T-I-C, and he is the Deputy State Fire Marshal. There, again, an ongoing investigation. There was no fire. There are no known threats. They do not have any leads or suspects, and he certainly encouraged if any of you have information dealing with this, he would appreciate for you all to call. And he also told me that he would be happy to come here. He said, I will be more than happy to come to Gilmer County and meet with citizens, community, board, central office staff. So that invitation is open, and if Mr. Devano or if any of you would choose or do that, and you can contact him as well. His direct number in Charleston is 304-558-2191.
My question is, why hasn't he notified all the sheriff and them? I mean, if he's not here and there's nobody watching what's going on.
And ma'am, I don't know if he has or not. He and again,
Shouldn't
because
you
it's
all notify
ongoing,
them?
I can't notify them because law enforcement's already been notified. When the phone call was made to the fire marshal's office, that was the reporting of the incident. And so any additional law enforcement, as they deem necessary, it's under their purview and responsibility to notify.
So you're saying that our sheriff, our prosecuting attorney, our fire department, nobody knows them, that they're going to find out something?
I can't answer. I don't know if I don't even know if they've been contacted.
No,
or
they
not.
have not.
That's up to the fire marshal to make
God's
that.
honor.
Okay, well, I'm not saying they have, I'm just
If I
saying,
ask.
I don't know if they have or not. Yes, sir.
My question is, you just sat there and explained it. Why couldn't this been done way at the beginning, so people wouldn't be asking
Then we wouldn't
questions?
be here, so.
Well,
Because what I published, it was no accusation, okay? It was only people's questions. However, the press release was nothing but accusation on me. And he even led the newspaper to quote me and telling the people that I said it was a bomb threat. Where is it, Mr. Cochran?
What was
well,
that again? Could you speak up?
You have published that I said it was a bomb threat.
and sir, I
Yeah.
don't know,
Well-
I don't know who said what when.
Yeah.
All I'm telling you, and all I
That
can
may have
tell you.
been my fault, you
Well-
know, I mean,
I think what's most important, I know what is most important is that right now, we know that none of the students, and that's the most important, is she's sitting right back there probably doing her homework. is
So in other
that
words, you do agree there was a miscommunication?
There's been miscommunication at many levels, I
Yes.
believe, from what I have been told, what I have read, as to
But
what
you
I've
gotta,
actually
you gotta
just
hear
told
all
you.
sides. In other words,
Absolutely,
when,
absolutely.
when one person asks, the other person doesn't answer, that's miscommunication.
Well, again, I think that was the purpose for tonight, because of the question and concern and very valid concerns. As a parent, I understand that. And that's why we wanted to come here tonight to answer any questions you have and to tell you exactly from the fire marshal, this is what happened, this is what did not happen, and what information we have.
And
Yes, sir.
parents,
Dr. Daniel, you know, I took the oath of office that all elected officials take, that I'm supposed to uphold the laws and the Constitution of West Virginia. And I interpret this subject we're talking about falls under that purview. Now, I'm just willing to say that what I said regarding the briefing we got about the complicated candle wick, and it being so big you could hardly get your arms around it, and there were appendages going off from this to various locations, I would give a sworn affidavit of what I saw and what I was briefed on, and I would also include in there that there were pictures on a cell phone. Now, you can erase cell phone pictures, but the server that those pictures are on, a subpoena can be issued, and those pictures can be accessed.
You know what bothers me the most is you keep saying, we're talking only to the parents. I would like for you to know, the people in Montgomery County care about our children, whether they're my children or someone else. We have for years.
Absolutely.
And to delete out everybody and say, we're only gonna tell the parents this. Everybody out there, the old people, which I'm one of them, and everyone is concerned about the safety of these children.
Absolutely.
And I'm still not convinced because they haven't told the people in our county, like the sheriff, the prosecuting attorney, our fire department, which was here at 4:30 to tell you they were not told. How are they going to find out anything if they don't tell the people? And we are concerned about the children. Everybody in our county is
Sure you are,
concerned.
and I appreciate you being here.
You're all from out of county. We are in county. We have to live with this.
Right, and I appreciate you being here and your concern, ma'am. I appreciate that. That's why you're here, so you can get the information.
But I was
Right,
told when
but
I
if
came in,
I
I
had-
could not stay, that I had to leave.
But
you're
if I
here.
had not reported it, we would not be here.
That's my question. As a parent, I wish I would have gotten a note home in the book bag that said, we found this, but we don't think there's any danger or anything. Because the day that I just happened for some reason, I don't even check it every day, but I just happened to click on there and I saw that. And immediately I was terrified. I came right over here to talk to Miss Chambers, pick up my son. What is going on? And at this time, you all had known about it for probably a week, the way I've got it in my mind. And I just wish I would have got a note instead of reading,
We just wanted to wait to what the state fire marshal said, and it's still undergoing investigation.
And I understand
My
that, but
concern was the same as your concern. Why didn't somebody call and ask me questions so I can answer them instead of putting
well,
this
that's what
out?
I didn't know, I
I
would
was
have never
never
known to
called.
call you.
And when we found out that was happening was from a parent over here, we called the gentleman over there, and he was told, you write a rebuttal to what it is. Where did you get your information? I got it from 6 sources, is what he said, 6
Well,
or
that-
7 sources.
That's
My
all
staff-
neither here nor there.
Well, my
I need to
staff
know
was
if
sitting
there's
there,
any
we
corrections
did
to
write a
my stuff.
response, but I wish that I was contacted to give the information.
And
Right.
I
I wasn't.
understand.
Well, to be
But I
honest with you, I
understand,
found
ma'am,
out
That's
about
not
this
true.
meeting on the
And I understand what you're
Herald.
saying, and in
They
hindsight,
did
you're
contact
right.
me and asked me
Yeah.
questions.
And,
But I mean,
and we're
that's
working
where I
on
found out
that
about
to make
this
sure
meeting,
that
Mr. Devine.
communication.
When I called the
you
board
get
office this morning, I was told
communication
no one knew anything about
when
it,
you should
not
have
even
it.
what time.
I did too.
And yes, sir.
Mr. Devano,
I want
go ahead.
all the parents to know, your child's safety is of utmost importance to every person.
Okay, no one believes
Okay,
that you
now,
would do
but I just
anything
want
wrong.
you parents to know that.
That's what we're doing here.
Not only me, but every staff person here, our cook, our custodian, all of our extra people, they make sure that your child is safe. And I just want you to know that that
If
is
they know.
their academics and their safety. I mean, we have a special situation with safety, we really do.
But
That
you
is
notified
something
the
that
day
they
it happened. No
all
one's condemning
work
you for
to make sure
anything.
your child
You
is
did
safe.
your job.
Right, nobody's condemning you.
Yes, sir, did you?
It's the fact that it took
We
8
still go
days
back.
later to notify the fire marshal that people were rather concerned.
Not sure.
We still go back. to
5
the
days
question.
later, I'm sorry. I talked to the fire marshal today, sir. He told me they were notified on the 18th. I talked to Jason Baldwin.
Yes,
Was
sir.
They
a
were
crime
notified on the
committed?
18th.
Told me what he told me.
Was a
All right, he
crime
told me they were
committed?
notified on the 18th.
Prepare a place.
That's 5 days after it happened.
And has there been a cover-up?
And the only thing I can tell you, Dr. Armour, is that there is an ongoing, as a quote from Mr. Baltic, it is considered and currently under investigation. Those are the exact words he used to me.
Right,
It
but
is
very,
currently
very
under
statement that you're making right now, why wasn't it made at the beginning?
I can't answer that.
And the statement that is made that somebody contact me, that's always said. But you can never get hold of this gentleman.
Well,
He never returns your,
and I do want to just.
I have asked him for many things, he does not return. I asked him for data because people want it, he gives me a package, about 20 pages in it. 18 of them are blank pages with heading. That's how he says.
Well, and
In other words, we can't stand here and lie and say, just contact me.
but let me say this, I want to make one more comment in regards to a lot of the information that has been printed by
See if any parents have any.
various media. That's fine.
Any parents
No,
have
he's
any
trying to cut
questions?
off the parents here, so, I mean, cut off everybody but the parents.
What I'd like to say is that I have read in various places information that this is part of a conspiracy that, and it does implicate me personally, and I'm very, I'm sitting here tonight to tell you that that is very offensive to me. I have in no way, nor has the West Virginia Department of Education or anyone in Gilmer County Schools is covering up anything. There is no conspiracy. We are here just as she said, just as you all are here. You're here because you care about the children of this county and
Well,
you want what's best, and that's why we're here. I'm reporting to you everything that I know about this situation, just as Mr. Devano is. So please, if you walk away with anything, please know
Right, but
there
what,
is no conspiracy or cover-up. This is open, this is important, and we want to give you every piece of information that we have regarding this incident. And we
Right.
will continue to give you that information.
but what you read is, people have the option of making comments.
I understand
And that's
that.
their comments.
I
So
understand
you
that.
read the comments and you go from there. You don't shoot the messenger.
Right.
You look at the message, but you don't shoot the messenger. But I have been shot. And that is wrong.
And
That
sir,
is absolutely wrong.
and what I would say too and recommend that we all do is that we do have open communication and that we're honest. We have honest, open communication with community, with concerned citizens, with our board, with our staff, with the Department of Education, with community and with media. That's critical. And it can happen. It's not hard to do. As long as we all are in this together and we're here for the right reasons, and I know we are, you wouldn't be here tonight, and that is for what's best for for the children in this county.
And I agree
That's why we're here.
I agree 100%. And what you're saying, I don't think anybody would argue,
No,
okay? But saying is one thing, practicing is another.
And I can tell you, sir,
When
I
you
practice that
use,
every day.
yeah, I
No,
know
we're
you
not kidding
do.
you.
I know
But you
you,
don't
we're
know
not
how
telling
to
you.
use.
Use the word honest. That's a big word,
Yes, it is.
okay? And if everybody's honest, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, I
Okay.
can tell you that, and I've been at the Department of Education since July the 1st. So I'm very new, not relatively.
That's right.
In my dealings with Mr. Devano, with the Gilmer County Board of Education members, I have had nothing but honesty. I have no reason to think that there hasn't been anything but honest communication, along with the staff. If I thought differently or there had been something different, I would certainly address it, and just as I would with anyone.
Why did this happen then? Why did this whole
I-
situation
Ma'am,
happen?
I
And is it gonna change?
I think,
This type of dialogue has been going on for 5 years.
and all I can tell you is that I want it to change, and that we're working very hard for it all to change, so that we do have open, honest communication between all parties. That's the reason that we're here tonight.
I'll tell you what, I'll make a commitment to you. If something happens, and this gentleman finds something out, call me before you stick it on the webpage.
Well, I have never
Get the facts.
commented anywhere.
No, I'm just saying, get the facts, do what you need to do.
But I taught here for 25 years.
Ms. Daniel, may I say something?
You know, I try to keep up with things. I am a taxpayer.
And she has been a teacher
I don't have,
for 30-some years
a pay raise every year. I've been retired for 12 years,
as
so,
a teacher.
you know, but it's just really disheartening
Okay,
to live here in Gilmer County.
if I can interject right here, I think we're kind of getting away from the issue of our students, and this conversation could go on for some time. So if you have no objections, I would like, I think all of our questions have been answered.
No, I don't think so.
Well, but
I
I don't think we need to go on with our, we have students here. Have parents, have your questions been
I just have a
sufficiently
comment.
answered?
I just have a comment. I came tonight, I never once worried about my kids' safety because of you. And, I had other parents call me and say, did you read this? Did you read this? What are you gonna do? And I'm not worried about it because, they're worried about kids.
On the contrary, the other discussion
But I
that
came here
you're all
tonight
getting
to
into,
see if you tried.
I still want to know is if our law enforcement and our people that's in
But
the
that
fire
was
department
up to
doesn't
the
know.
state fire
How,
marshal, like she
the
said.
state fire marshal doesn't live here, he's not here.
But that was who we referred it to, and he then took care
If
of
he
it
doesn't
from
do
there.
anything, why can't you call these people and say, would you look out for these people? Would you mind the fire department going around and coming over and checking every once in a while? Could we put up some cameras around the school? I just want the kids protected.
Absolutely, as do we all, ma'am, as do we all. Dr. Arner,
Yeah, people talk about that was then, this is now. I respect this woman.
I like this
She's
woman.
only been on the job since July the 1st. I heard her mention honesty. I heard her mention the word information. And I've heard her mention the word transparency before. From this point on, as the Assistant Superintendent of Schools, will you commit that we are going to have these 3 topics addressed?
absolutely.
And to include, and all this is related, that's why we're here, because there's misunderstanding and there's mistrust. Will that include finances, personnel, facilities, and every other item of business this school board is involved in?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's commendable.
I'd like to say one thing and then I'm going to stop because I know our parents they need to get home and have some supper. All I'm going to say is I see the problem is this. It does take a village to raise a child, and Gilmer County Village cares about every child. Every child. No one here would not help a child in Sanford or Troy or anywhere else, and I believe that from the bottom of my heart. Mrs. Chambers is an excellent leader for our school, and no one's a bigger cheerleader for her than Normatown. She did her job appropriately. She notified. She should not have to take any further heat than that. The problem is the distance from the village learning. From August the 13th till September the 10th is a long time for the village not to hear the facts from the source. And I believe that is the problem. And had that not happened, had it been a speedy, because, you know, had it just been simply bring in our own fire chief whom they trust. We pay an excess levy for those people to help protect us. Bring them in, they would have gladly, I know, come in and talked to our parents and given their opinion, calmed them, have said, listen, we're here for you. And they were already here at 4:30 today, but the meeting got changed and no one knew it. Our sheriff would have sent patrols out here, had them shining lights down on the parking lot at night, take a little drive through.
Prosecute.
Now, I know, you know they would. Every one of us know they would. And that would have made us feel so much better. That the state fire marshal had hold of it, that's fine. But our people who were 15 minutes away should have been first. And the fire marshal wasn't notified till the 18th.
And again, all I can tell you in regards to that is that it was reported to the appropriate law enforcement authorities.
Well, I mean,
And now it's from
why
there.
wouldn't it go to our fire chief and he would report it to the fire marshal? Because he certainly would, he was legally obligated.
Mrs. Hurley,
Protocol.
the fire marshal was notified Friday, August the 14th. It was the arson team then that he notified later. But I went to Mr. Devon Friday morning, the 14th. He called the fire marshal.
He came out Monday.
Tuesday with the fire marshal.
Tuesday.
They
Well,
came.
that would be
He was
about,
notified
according
Friday
to Jason
because
Hart, their
they told me-
notification of arson was on the 18th.
They let
He
me
said
know
they
he
trained,
had
now this is what they said, Faye. He said they were in training the 19th and 20th and could not send someone out until the 21st.
But the state fire
That
marshal
was
was
the arson
notified
team.
Friday.
Well, Friday was.
14th.
Well, so that's not what they're saying.
And again,
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, Mr. Devano. I'm not saying anyone's wrong other than the distance of time between occurring on August 13th and waiting until September 10th to bring these people in and tell them.
And again, I think the point here is that communication is vital.
It
We
is,
have
and
to
had they
and
been
we all have to
Exactly.
communicate
These are
with
not
each other.
unreasonable
I have a-
people.
So-
They
We're
would have been
doing
very
that.
Wait a minute,
calm.
So let me
about
ask
this
we
you a
have a
question.
parent back here.
And
Yes,
ask her a
ma'am.
question.
Cindy, you hit it right on the head. Communication, I would have much rather heard something from Faye or you, Mr. Devano, straight to me regarding this matter than finding something on Facebook, free press, whatever. You know, even if it was, you know, this is under investigation, we can't provide any details, just that reassurance. Because I'll be honest, I read that, I picked up the phone, called my husband and said, oh my gosh, do I go pick up Gage now? Because it terrified me.
And I agree with you. I wish I was called first.
And
You
I
were.
agree with you, I
You
don't
were,
disagree
sir.
with you there, I don't
Before
disagree
before
with
it
you
came
there.
out on the press.
Exactly,
And I
and you
wasn't.
heard the same
You were.
situation that our
My
parents.
staff,
You
my
should
staff
go
was sitting in there
Yeah.
when we first found out from a parent from you that it was on that webpage. Nobody called us, nobody asked us.
And I know, you're
But
sitting
what
in
I'm
our
saying
seat.
is, I agree with
So
you.
what,
But
and
when
so
it's under
again,
investigation, Mrs. Chairman, I was waiting to figure out what we need to do. Are they gonna give us a report or not give a report?
Yeah.
We've been asking for that report for over a
Oh,
week.
we know how that is. I mean, I know how that is.
Fire marshal
I work-
said it was
I work
written
in
up
state
2 days
government, I
after the
understand
18th.
that.
We've been asking
Now,
for
I
that report
don't
for a
know.
week, and all I got
I'm
was three
sorry.
or
I've
four
gotta
pages,
leave because
and we
I'm
didn't
just
actually get the report.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
Trust me, I understand that. But I'm just saying as a
called the fire
parent, I would have
department,
rather
they've been here in
heard
2
from
minutes.
you all than finding
If I knew
something.
it was gonna come out like that, I would've called you.
Yes, and I'm
Well,
sorry
what if it
to cause
is?
any
Would
of
we
you
know
distress,
today?
because
That's
I
the-
didn't.
You would.
I know.
As soon as
Yes.
we've been asking for that report for a week.
Yeah, but in the meantime, what
And I'll
if
tell you what, if it
somebody
wasn't
has
for Mrs.
another part?
McDaniels, we probably would've never got it today.
What if they went to Troy and did the same thing?
I mean, what?
well, again,
And my
I
concern
do-
is the future safety, that,
The
you know,
good-
obviously this is
And
no
again, the
question.
good
Oh,
news is that your
Just make sure
children,
there's-
our children are safe, and they are continuing to investigate, and I would ask, again, if any of you, any community members, and you all talk to people, if there are any leads, please ask them to call that 1-800 number. That's,
Well, we would, when you tell these 3 people, we can call them. One more thing I'd like to say. Please give us a 5th grade teacher in our elementary schools, and that's all I have to say.
okay.
We don't have one here. We don't have one at Sanford. We didn't have one at Troy. We need 5th grade teachers. Not good places to talk.
If you all don't have any other questions?
One quick question. Is
Yes,
the paper alleged witness, is it still in the building or has it been removed? I mean, is the evidence still there?
And sir, I don't know the
Or you
answer
just-
because it's
Well,
under
walk over, you
investigation.
can walk over and see it.
It's still in there, we asked if we can take
Okay,
it.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
The ward-
okay, he said, yeah, he just,
They'll
when
get
I
back
spoke
to
with
us.
the gentleman
We'll go
today,
ahead.
because it's under
We're gonna have
investigation,
somebody with
it's
hazmat
turned over to law
I like
enforcement.
to, but come,
But we will.
The
why
word
didn't you- why
Wickham
didn't you
came
just
from
walk
Mr.
over first
Devana.
Before you came over here?
He's the one who
That
stood there in
came
the
from the
meeting
guy who went in there as a
You
fire
could-
department.
and called it
You're
Wickham.
presenting
Called it that.
Why didn't
That's
you
what
just
we
walk
call it.
over there first and take a look
We
for
didn't-
yourself?
We can't, because it's under investigation, we can't go in there. We can't go in there. That was told to me today when I spoke to the deputy fire marshal, because it is under investigation.
But we
Okay,
will.
thank
We'll
you
stay-
all
we've
very
asked
much. I
them.
appreciate you
We'll
coming
keep
out.
asking them.
Yeah,
We'll do that.
thank you. Yeah. Later, I got me, it was like, yeah. I'm like, as soon as I saw it.
Carl.
And they said it, fire department. And they said.
I'm a big girl, I can take care of myself, but thank you. If you have any questions, sir, I left my business cards, but just, I can give you my number. Okay.